Check 1 2. Check 1 2 1 2. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to This is the G Podcast. It is episode 121. Yes. Oh, yes. Room to be excited. Got all these bright and shiny faces up in here. Yeah. Give us some more. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, y'all. Yeah. And as we tape today, I got to do some housekeeping first, man. Got to say, today as we tape, and actually it was this weekend, yesterday, I think, got to give a special 90th birthday shout out to the one and only former Atlanta mayor, Mr. Ambassador, the one and only Andrew Young. Y'all give it up, man. I'm going to give it up for him. I'm sure everyone's got some choice words. Repugnant. Has choice words. Hold off though. Hold off. I'll come to you. But they did the gala this weekend, and I got to give it up to WSB TV Channel 2. They did a nice little piece on Young. It was well done. I'll give it to them. Also, as we tape, y'all, this weekend was just weird. I mean, last weekend, most of us on this podcast in the South, we're dealing with 80-degree temps. And yesterday we stepped out into 20s and 30s. And I was without power for about 6 hours. So, it was crazy because, in Atlanta, we get the rain and we have these big trees. People come here and they're not used to the trees. They see the trees, and all of a sudden, when we get wind and rain, these trees just start collapsing, man. So I had a couple of trees fall on some power lines. All my best to folks who had to deal with that this weekend in the ATL. It was not fun to be without power, deal with Georgia Power, and have to wait for 6 hours. You know, hoping your that leg of lamb and that all that meat you got in the freezer will hold up. So I have to give it to my folks, and hopefully y'all did not forget with all that going on to spring forward. Lose your hour in church today, but you'll get over it in a couple of weeks. Also, one of my favorite New Yorkers is in the building. Got to give it up to him. The one and only, do we say, I don't know, you're always an Atlantan. We can't say former Atlantan. He is an Atlantan. The one and only talk show host, author, accomplished smear painter, Rob Redding Jr. is in the building. Y'all give it up for Rob. Yes, here we go. Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Man, you're always welcome, man. I appreciate you coming on. You know, I always call you at the last minute, so I just appreciate you, bro. I really do. And go to ReddingNewsReview.com. We play Rob's weekly review, but that is not all of it. That is only one portion of the facts that this man delivers. And I'm here to tell you, the reason I invited him on, because there've been a couple of days he sent me his daily show, and I've had to text him and said, man, I mean, just thumbs up, you know. The fire emoji, the double hands in praise emoji, because we don't get any news coverage on the national news front right now because it's 24/7 every story Ukraine. So there's some things and some insight that Rob gives us. Rob has mentioned on his show that the Black News Channel is still giving us some insight, but it's 24/7 Ukraine. So I got to say thanks to Rob for his support of our network, Castropolis.net and the Week in Review. You can check it out Sundays at noon. And also, you know, we run this, Rob, in addition to Sunday at noon, I play it twice Sunday from like 12 to 2, one and then the encore, and then that review and encore also after our show. So when we talk about certain things and we refer to you, people who listen to us live can actually, all they have to do is just hang on Castropolis and check you out. So kudos, man. You know, let me give you, I gotta give you the official, because it's not official until you get the air horn, man. So,
well, I
so
appreciate you, man. I appreciate your support. You've always been a big fan, and I've always been a big fan of you. I mean, a lot of people don't know you're a radio legend. And legend.
Are you drinking over there like me?
Oh man, this man is a radio legend right here, and it's always good to be anywhere around this dude. When he told me he was about to do this, I said I definitely will do anything I can to support you, man. So I appreciate you.
Oh man, appreciate you, man. I really appreciate that. But Rob, I'm going to do this, man. Another radio legend who supports the show and really is a big part. I didn't say another, but the man who we're really blessed to have on our show, Syracuse Mike. We call him Syracuse Mike, but you know why we call him Syracuse Mike. But Mike Roberts actually delivers and gives us our headlines every week. So let's do this. We're going to go into Mike's headlines. And I will warn y'all up front, because I sent it out to the team. It's a long headline this week, but a lot of the news that's in the headlines, you probably didn't hear this week because it was 24/7 Ukraine. So go ahead, check it out. The reason I invited Rob on is because there's some things that I think deserve clarification straight from Rob based on some of the things he said on the show. So let's go ahead and do news with Syracuse Mike, and we'll be right back.
News team, assemble!
It's time
time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken says NATO countries supporting Ukraine against the Russian invasion have a green light to send fighter jets as part of their military aid. Russia has pounded a number of southern cities in Ukraine in recent days, making evacuation efforts difficult and leading to an increased number of civilian deaths and displacement. According to a U.S. defense official, 95% of the Russian troops originally on the border are now in Ukraine. The U.S. continues to say no to Ukraine's demand for a no-fly zone because of fears it could lead to NATO forces shooting down Russian aircraft, and many believe that would likely mean World War III. Vice President Kamala Harris was in Selma, Alabama Sunday for the anniversary of Bloody Sunday, which happened on this day, March 7th in 1965.
Honoring the legacy of those who marched then demands that we continue to push Congress to pass federal voting rights legislation.
Voting rights remains an important issue for many lawmakers, although they have failed to update the Voting Rights Act, which came about because of the violence in Selma 57 years ago. Harris spoke on the foot of the bridge where white state troopers attacked black marchers attempting to cross it. In New York City,
we are winning. So let's celebrate the win.
That's New York's mayor. The city is lifting mask mandates. You may remember it was one of the first in the nation to issue mandates. New Jersey is also ending mandates in schools. Next week, California, Oregon, and Washington State will join them. COVID cases are down dramatically in many cities across the country. Today, for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic, Atlanta City Council will hold its first in-person meeting. To be clear, COVID cases are still out there, and Georgia hit a grim milestone this past Friday, crossing 30,000 COVID-related deaths. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby says more U.S. troops are headed to Europe.
Secretary Austin ordered the deployment from the United States of an additional approximately 500 U.S. military personnel to locations in Europe to augment U.S. forces that are already in theater.
The war in Ukraine continues with little progress made by negotiators, but Russian and Ukrainian officials worked out a deal for civilians trying to leave the country. An advisor to Ukrainian President Zelensky said there were some small positive shifts regarding logistics of humanitarian corridors. Earlier evacuation routes would actually direct people toward Russia or Belarus. The UK's Europe minister, James Cleverly, said evacuation routes into the arms of the country that is currently destroying yours is nonsense. The Supreme Court has decided not to review Bill Cosby's case, so he remains a free man. And we're told the 84-year-old comedian is now considering a final stand-up tour. And that news is not a joke. In sports, Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley has been suspended by the NFL for gambling on football games. Ridley only played at 5 games during the 2021 season before taking a break to work on his mental health. Atlanta-based Coca-Cola has announced they will join other big U.S. brands and stop doing business in Russia. The news came not long after Starbucks and McDonald's announced their businesses would shut down locations in Russia. Coke faced days of pressure. In a statement, they said, "Our hearts are with the people who are enduring unconscionable effects from these tragic events in Ukraine. We will continue to monitor and assess the situation as circumstances evolve." President Biden also announced that the U.S. is banning Russian oil, natural gas, and imports of coal.
I said I would level with the American people from the beginning. And when I first spoke to this, I said defending freedom is going to cost. It's going to cost us as well.
The latest U.S. response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine could lead to a spike in gas prices at home. A recent poll suggested that most U.S. citizens support this move, despite the impact it will likely have on gas prices. Stacey Abrams officially qualified Tuesday to run for governor of Georgia.
I'm excited to qualify for office today to run for governor of Georgia.
Abrams will likely face Kemp or former Senator David Perdue this fall. Black Panther director Ryan Coogler was detained by police after he was mistaken for a bank robber at a Bank of America location in Metro Atlanta. The incident happened in January but just became public. Coogler was later allowed to go on his way. In a statement, Bank of America says, "We deeply regret that this incident occurred. It never should have happened, and we have apologized to Mr. Coogler." Coogler apparently has also addressed the issue with the bank directly and said, quote, "We have moved on." A hospital in southern Ukraine was hit Wednesday, and the explosion could be heard a mile away. The hospital, which involves a maternity ward, was badly damaged by a Russian strike. At least 17 people were injured. And the Pentagon has rejected the idea of sending planes from Poland to assist Ukraine's military. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby.
Polish generosity is clearly on display for the whole world to see. But at this time, we believe the provision of additional fighter aircraft provides little increased capabilities at high risk.
The risk and escalation in the war. Ukraine continues to call for a no-fly zone. People refer to it as the Don't Say Gay bill, and it has become a major issue in Florida. In short, the law forbids instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity in public schools for kindergarten through third grade. Under pressure, Disney CEO Bob Chapek addressed the company's stance on the bill Wednesday and told shareholders he will meet with Governor Ron DeSantis. He says his company opposes the bill. Critics of the law, which the governor supports, say it implies students should be ashamed or should suppress their gender identity or sexual orientation. Actor Jussie Smollett was sentenced by Cook County Judge James Lynn Thursday to 150 days in county jail for staging an attack on himself. After declining to speak earlier in the court during the sentencing, Smollett told the judge,
I am innocent and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this. And I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And you must all know that.
Smollett was ordered to pay restitution of just over $120,000 and a $25,000 fine. Officials in Washington say that Russia is lying about bioweapons research in Ukraine involving the U.S., calling the claims laughable and suggesting Moscow may be laying the groundwork to use a chemical or biological weapon. Russia is also denying attacking a maternity hospital in southern Ukraine. Russia says Ukrainian forces staged the incident. 3 people died. That 40-mile convoy of Russian troops in Ukraine is now less than 10 miles from moving into the capital city of Kyiv. More money is also headed to black colleges. AURN's Ebony McMorris explains.
The administration has announced $2.7 billion in funding for historically black colleges and universities provided under the American Rescue Plan. That was the largest ever in the country's HBCUs as part of the administration's commitment to advancing racial equity and support underserved communities. Half of those funds under the American Rescue Plan require them to be used to provide direct financial relief to students. They're already being used by colleges and universities across the country. For AURN News, I'm Ebony McMorris.
The money also adds to other funding for higher education. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin says he didn't see any red flags after meeting with Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's not the case for Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who voted to put Jackson on the D.C. Circuit Court just last year. Graham is signaling he's leaning toward voting no. It's also no secret that he's not happy President Biden passed on his personal choice of South Carolina federal judge J. Michelle Childs.
Hey, you can tell, there's so much news about Ukraine that basically, our typical headlines, there's, I guess it kind of chokes a lot of the news that we do this week, but I want to make sure you get a little bit of everything. And I do have to say thank you to Mike Roberts, our Syracuse Mike, for making sure that we get a good balance of what's going on with Ukraine and what's going on, in our world, So Rob, you and I were having a conversation, and I'll start with this, man. I was watching, my litmus test is Reverend Al and the black shows that come on MSNBC, Saturday morning and then Sunday morning and then Reverend Al. And what do you think the reasons behind all Ukraine all the time, even with the black news anchors, or the black targeted shows? Even watching Reverend Al, he was in Selma this week, and I didn't even see anything about him, actually being in Selma for the commemoration in his show. So what do you think's going on with that? I'd love your thoughts. Even when you look at what Tiffany, what's her name? Tanya B. Tiffany. I forgot her last name.
Tiffany Taylor. Tiffany.
No. Tiffany on MSNBC, and then MSNBC has the black shows on Sunday morning, and then I watched Reverend Al, right before our show.
Don't
And all I,
lying. All
yeah,
I know is
Tiffany Cross. Tiffany Cross.
Yeah.
It came to me. Tiffany Cross. Okay, so throw it to you, Rob.
I'm just going to say there are very few people in the black community that know news. Al Sharpton's not a journalist. He's not a journalist. He's barely a civil rights leader. Who the fuck is following Al Sharpton? Wait a minute. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Who the fuck is following Al Sharpton?
I'm just saying it is. That's why the show primarily deals with black issues. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't, I feel you. I understand. I hear the retort, right? It primarily handles black issues. But here's the deal. He's not a journalist. His folks work at MSNBC, and they are drinking the Kool-Aid of, okay, this is all news, all Ukraine 24/7. And that doesn't suit the black community. It just doesn't. It's not something that's important to us. Yes, there are black folks in the Ukraine. Most of them are students trying to get out. They're helping themselves. They're starting to realize for the first time that white folks don't really like them, even though white folks colonized their damn country. And so I can't help those people. In addition to that, of course, we have the Griner situation in Russia. Outside of that, it's not a black story. This is not a black story. I mean, I'll spend a little bit of time on it, but not a lot. And so to the question of why these MSNBC folks or these other folks are obsessing over the Ukraine, is because it's all that's talked about at the water cooler, at these cable networks. They're scared to go it alone and say, you know what, that's not our lead story. I'm sorry, we're not talking about the Ukraine on our show. This is for our people, and we're concerned about news for our people.
Because even when we watch, and you and I had the conversation about BNC, Black News Channel, which I watch on Pluto, they have struck a balance. They make sure that, the issues, the stories that come up that impact, I mean, just like we spoke about the Supreme Court justice and the possibility of a challenge from Lindsey Graham, which I think is something, we need to know and be aware of. In addition to the fact that even though the Cosby story and the Jussie Smollett story may be pop culture, those are stories that still mean, something to the community. In addition to this, you said something that was pretty profound. As I'm listening to Ronnie Talk to Russia from Prince, y'all Prince fans know what that means.
Yes.
But as I'm listening to Ronnie Talk to Russia, you said black folks don't care about nuclear war.
We should. We don't, and we shouldn't. Why should we? I mean, look. I mean, if it blows up a racist system that suppresses, subjugates, and has stratified our communities for all of these years, why the hell should we care that the world comes to an end? Their world, all of the world is not going to come to an end. There were black people here before white people, and there will be black folks after white people. Trust me.
So you think that nuclear cloud just gonna float over?
No, what I'm saying
I'm just saying, Rob.
No, what I'm saying is I will be dead in New York. I've already told you I'm going to be dead in. First of all, I am from Atlanta, born and raised. I will always be from Atlanta, but I will be dead in New York. Basically, everybody will be dead in D.C., maybe L.A. I don't think they're going to bomb Atlanta, but I mean, it's possible that they might.
Oh no, they coming after Atlanta.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Putin don't like niggas, so I mean, he might come after Atlanta. So you might be in trouble.
But see, Dobbins is here. Dobbins.
That's right.
We got the base.
That's right. So all I'm saying is that look, I'm sick and tired of Negroes saying that they want to defund the police, and then they elect Joe Biden, who says I'm not for defunding the police. They elect Eric Adams, who's a cop, who says I'm not for mayor of New York. For people that like Eric Adams, who says that I'm not for defunding the police. And so then we have a situation where we've taken steps back. When we took one step forward, we take 8 steps back. And, here's the thing, and this is what I said in the show. Mm-hmm. Black folks, when it comes to colonization and racism, are very tepid at ending it. And the reason why we are is because we know to truly end racism in this country, we have to dismantle the system that white folks have put in place and put our own system in place. And when it comes to doing that, that's a lot of heavy lifting. That means we got to become colonizer. We got to become boss. And we didn't sign up for this. We were the ones enslaved. We were the ones brought here, hit over the head, and made to work and all of that and build this country. But when it comes to being in a situation where we the white man's dream and take what they had in their minds and their founding fathers had in their minds and make it our own is something we're reluctant to do. And that's understandable. And I mean, that's like a true psychology. You have to understand most white people are narcissistic. That's what Frantz Fanon believed. He believed that white men and women are narcissistic, and racism is a narcissistic tendency. Most black folks are not narcissistic in this way. I mean, not narcissistic to the point that they see themselves at the center of the universe. Racism is about being in the center of the universe. And when they don't get their way, that's when they do what? They talk about reverse racism, they nut up, they talk crazy. So you're talking about us becoming them and then taking over their system, putting a new system in place. So just bear with me. This is why I get to nuclear war. The only thing that might solve this is their world coming to an end so we can build our world.
So you're saying start from scratch? So this is going to be like, I mean, you know, I'm a sci-fi buff, so it's the Book of Eli. You know, I hate to say it, but, you know, some of that is reality in terms of the impact of a nuclear cloud. And I'm not saying we're there. I do think, you know, I have my theories in terms. I'm not going to get into it on this show because it's a separate show that you know, in terms of what I think is really going on, because I think it's going to play out within the next few weeks. But I will ask you this. Do you think, because you said it on the show, that the antagonism is going to be, how do you say it? Is it actually going to improve the situation with Russia?
No.
A lot of the things that's going on.
The media is antagonizing this situation because they want ratings. But the problem is if the world comes to an end, then so do ratings. I mean, come on, like that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't see a good end game in that. In addition to that, you have a situation where if you have the world coming to an end, you don't have a future to work things out. The escalation that's happening is very concerning. I don't think there's going to be a nuclear war. You know, Biden this week talked about how he doesn't want to see a World War III, how this won't be World War III, but Biden doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Biden also talked about, you know, we were going to get back to normal, COVID was coming to an end and all of that. I mean, you know, he barely knows where the teleprompter is. So let me just be clear. I hope there's no nuclear war. Right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't rule anything out with Putin supposedly being sick, supposedly being in a situation where he's looking at his legacy. I don't think we can underestimate Putin, and we definitely can't underestimate those that would have us take NATO and use it in the wrong way in this particular instance.
I think they're being smart to a certain extent by not actually agreeing with Ukraine on the no-fly zones, because I think that says to me that they do want to negotiate. I'm not going to be hawkish. I'm not on war, because I do believe. I mean, you know, it's not like we're going against Iran or North Korea. I mean, these guys can punt any of their, and I'm not saying launch any of their nukes, and actually hit any major city aimed. So, you know, Russia is a real threat. So, you know, I don't belittle the fact that nuclear war is a real threat. I just think right now that where Putin is currently financially, his own people are going to do something to preempt whatever he's thinking about doing. Take that however you want to take it. But I think internally something's going to happen. And you know what I'm saying?
Well, I hope so. But, you know, what you're also now seeing is that, you know, because he's for a long time, you know, and the Soviets have been nice to Africans for the most part. So he is also now being targeted and squeezed in some of his Africa ties as well. This thing has the potential to get a lot larger because this is an American opportunity to say, well, you know what, we want the Soviets out of Africa for some time. But that's not really in our interest, because one of the things that people forget, there was a great migration from Africa to and from America to Russia, which is how a lot of black folks got to Russia.
Yeah. Speak to the Brittany Griner situation.
Yeah. Speaking of Griner, you know, first thing I wanted to know is what was this sister doing there? You know, like what was she doing in Russia? She is a
Playing
Olympian.
basketball.
Right. Exactly. exactly.
Supposedly, she couldn't make she made like 10 times what she's making over here. They were paying her over $1 million to play basketball over there. And the WNBA players over here make like the equivalent to like maybe $12 an hour, which is really
too little.
Sin. Yeah.
way
So
too
she
little.
had to go over there and play. But what I also, not to cut you off, Rob, but I found this also interesting too, is that the man that owns the team that she plays on is a very close ally, or that's one of Putin's boys. So I've heard some people talk about set up, and that's why she's been there in jail. And it's just coming again. It's just coming out, and why is it so difficult for her to get out?
Well, one of the things that comes up, with the exception of maybe CNN this week, I think did one story. There's not even enough balance of talking about the fact that she's even there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So thank you, Tanya, for saying that as well and adding in. I just want to give a little bit more about her background. She's Olympian. She won a WNBA championship. She's won, 3 Russian championships since she's been there. Yes, she is paid more. She's paid more than $1 million. I think they knew who she was. When I say they, I'm talking about the customs folks. Maybe they didn't give Putin a memo. But I can tell you there's one thing. You're like, this is highly suspicious. Like, okay, if it is motivated politically, what is it about? And I'm going to say this. I know people are tired of hearing about it. But I do believe that this is happening because she is a lesbian. She has a full wife. She is not in the closet. You have to understand, Russia is very intolerant of gay people. Very intolerant of gay people. As a matter of fact, it is so bad in Russia that you can, if you try to hook up with a guy online, you have to be careful about where you go, because you could get shot, killed, or hurt by somebody thinking that they are into you. They're really baiting you to hook up. That's how bad it's gotten for the queer community in Russia. In addition to that, there's a dirty little secret Putin has always had, and that is that I've heard from numerous sources that Putin is gay. And that's one of the reasons why he's so repressive against gay people.
Wow. Interesting. So even the coverage, the racism in the press, you had one reporter talking about the fact that I think it may have been somebody from Al Jazeera who mentioned the fact that you had the BBC speaking of the war in the Ukraine in terms of look at the blonde hair, blue-eyed people being attacked. And on the other hand, you had the African community that was actually, they actually went there for degrees, how do you say it, discounted heavily, doctorate degrees. Basically, they were saying that they were shocked in terms of how they were treated as they attempted to exit Ukraine. So even the racism in coverage, what are your thoughts, and how did you talk about that?
How are they shocked? I mean, like, what world are Africans living in? Like, but we talked about this on the program.
But they live in a black world. They live in a black world outside of going to the Ukraine.
They live in a black colonized world, one where country after country have been colonized. In Africa, I don't understand. But you know what? We did a show about 4 weeks ago. I'm sure you probably remember this show. It was about 4 weeks ago on Reading News Review about how blacks coming to America are highly employable, make a lot more money, are more successful because they don't understand racism. And not in a systematic way, in the way that it was implemented in the United States. And we have to remember that implemented in the United States was also the textbook for how Nuremberg was also put into place in Germany. So it kind of goes back into this cycle. So these kids supposedly didn't know anything about racism to this point. They're shocked that they didn't want their black creamy ass over the border. And so at this point, they're having to help themselves. It's really sad. It's really tragic. It's really sad that this is their first tutorial in how bad racism can be. But if they could just hang in there a little bit longer, it's going to get much worse.
Yeah, I agree. One more question, man. HBCU's got a big chunk of money this week. Mike mentioned it in the news. And here's my point. A lot of that funding, or you're seeing a significant amount of money. And here, my thought is that I think there's a feeling within the administration, within the Biden administration, that giving money to HBCUs will have a positive impact on the black community. Do you feel that way?
It's not that much money. It's only like some odd billion dollars. So I mean, I thought they were already going to give this money. I thought they had already divvied out that they. I remember seeing an interview with President of Gremlin about this. Is this additional money on top of that money, or I feel like this is the same amount of money?
I
And
think it
feel
may
like
be
this is a
additional money. I think this may be additional money.
Okay, well, great, and some of it's supposed to help students, so that's great. I mean, maybe it's a game changer, but it's not that much of a game changer if we educate our black kids and our youths, and we give them great degrees, and then they walk out into a world where they become Breonna Taylor, and they become, of course, Trayvon Martin or Michael Brown or anybody else, and you've got a governor or a mayor or even a president that talks about defunding the police is not a good idea because we want these police officers in place. We spend all this money in education and then we shoot down. That's if they're most unfortunate, and if they're lucky, we maim or imprison our black youth.
Yeah. So one last thing, man. Where do you think we are, Rob? I mean, when you look at it's been over a year. We've had a State of the Union speech. We're technically in a war, or not necessarily part of the war, but we are. We're providing bodies to Europe. We're sending troops. We're providing money. We're providing arms. Where are we, man, in the country? I mean, in terms of when you sit down and do your show on a daily basis, where do you feel we are?
Well, I just want to say we've been in wars for a long time. This is just the one that white folks want to pay attention to because one of the things we talked about on last Monday was that this has been a race war, literally a race war, in that the way it's reported has been about these are working class, even white. They've even said that they're white people, that they're Europeans, and that these are not like the normal refugees, and these are more important. And the reason why we're reporting on these people, and that's from BBC to the fact that NBC, CBS, and Al Jazeera have treated these people all in the same way. It was a great report. If you get a chance to go back and listen to Monday's show, we ran part of it for Monday, and so that's an excellent segment that wasn't even our own. It was a news segment. So when you ask me where we are right now, what we're
Status
seeing,
report. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, what we're seeing is globally racism is a huge problem because this wasn't a black news presenter. This wasn't the black news channel. This was WION that talked about this, and this was oddly it was an Indian red dot reporter who was behind the desk who was talking about just how bad racism is against black and brown people and how whites were at a higher level. We see in the Ukraine, I hate to dwell on the Ukraine because you had me on because of it, but you see how these students are educated for the first time about how bad systematic racial oppression is. When we look at Griner and the fact that she's black in Russia and lesbian in Russia, and we don't even know whether this sister's all right or not. And then in our country, how bad it is, and how the fact that they've backed up on defund the police and they're still killing black people. We still have a lot of murders that don't even make the news, that I pass on, that I'm like, you know what, I'm watching this case, I don't know whether it's going to get some traction. There was a young Jamaican boy who went off with some white people at a house in Pennsylvania, and he got shot and killed in the middle of the front yard, and we still don't know how his black ass is now in a coffin. I mean, my point is this. We can be lulled into a situation where we believe that black folks in this country are headed toward a better future. As Barack Obama used to say, the arc of American history is long. We're much better than we were before. Look, at the end of the day, we're not much better than we were before. We are still in a situation where we are on bended knee, hoping that somebody treats us right. And that's where I want us to get up off of our knees and stop begging and start demanding that we have a better future in this country and in the world because we deserve it. At the end of the day, we are the center of humanity. I wrote it in my book talking about why Black Lives Matter. I'm not here to promote that. What I'm saying is that the center of humanity comes out of Africa. All people come from black people. And if you kill us, if you maim us, if you murder us, at the end of the day, you're murdering and maiming the soul of humanity.
Excellent. Rob, how can people get your daily, man? How can people listen and subscribe? I don't always do it the right way in terms of giving the information. I'd like to hear from you.
Well, I appreciate you for having me on as always. This is a wonderful show.
Oh man, this is, you're a partner. You can always step in whenever you have something. Go for it.
And I appreciate that. Just, you can find me at Reading News Review. That's readingnewsreview.com on the World Wide Web. Reading like Otis, and I say that because that's how you spell it. Redding, like Redding, California. Newsreview.com. And people are like, where have you been? No, it's where have you been, brother, sister? All you have to do is just pop my name, Rob Redding, in Google, and it will take you straight there. It'll take you where you need to go. Now, if you act like you challenge on how to subscribe, because it's not free, it's fee, then that's a whole nother story. I can't help you with that either. But I swear to God, you know how to pay your Netflix, don't you?
That's so y'all give it up.
Thank you.
Y'all give it up. Give it up for the one and only. I appreciate you, man. Really.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Definitely for coming in, and I just needed, your perspective, man. I mean, because I've already said it. I've said enough.
Thank you, sir.
But thank you so much, and take care, and hope to have you back soon, and keep us up to date with your new projects as well. Okay?
No doubt.
All right, good deal. All right, y'all, let's take a quick break. We'll come back with Tanya B's tea.
I got to say about Rob that I really, really are just, I'm like, and I'm going to use the OG term. I really
You're just over there rolling.
No, I did it because he talks and he breaks it down to where people, like how, just like in church, when you have the old King James version of the Bible, it doesn't, like, I could not process that. But when you get the New International Version, or the today's version, which is what I think Rob speaks when he talks about situations, people can digest it. It's palatable. They can digest it, process it, and understand it. And a lot of people can't do that. He's not talking at anybody. He's talking to us like we're having a conversation. And I think that's one of the things why, sometimes people of color shy away from the news because they feel like it doesn't apply to them or they can't process it. And he makes it so that you understand that it is relative to your everyday life. So I just want to say 5-1 to him for that.
Yeah, if you're not getting the daily, definitely go to readingnewsreview.com. You're doing yourself a disservice. I mean, his daily show is on point. So definitely check that out. Hey, but let's do this. We're going to go ahead and go to break. We'll come back with Tanya B's tea right after this show.
It's tea time, y'all. Sipping the tea with Tanya B.
Yes. You know what time it is. Tanya B.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Get up on that mic and follow Rob with the fierceness.
All right. I want to say this first of all. People, and the one thing that also has not been front page news that should be is that there's a new COVID variant out here, and people think just because you're vaxxed and boosted that you still can't get it. Yes, it may not kill you, and they're not certain yet if this new variant, is even, if the vaccine, the booster even can kill it. And with that, I say prayers up to Philadelphia's #1 daughter, Jasmine Sullivan. She's recovering from COVID. She was having a rough time, and she had to actually put some of her tour dates on hold. But now she's back, and she's going to perform to a hometown sellout crowd on March 18th. So, thank goodness she's recovered. Also, came out earlier today that our forever former President Obama has tested positive for COVID. Yes, he's saying, it was scratchy throat in a mild case, but to me,
we should have had Rob here. And do his Obama.
But here's my thing, right? COVID is COVID. Yes, it may not kill you, but again, people forget it has lifelong effects on your lungs, your heart, and your kidneys. I mean, look at little Haley Bieber was out there Tootsie rolling, and she had the blood clot on the brain, which can give you stroke-like symptoms, and it can still take you out of here. So I'm glad that President Obama is doing well, and as of this moment, First Lady Michelle has tested negative, so that's a good thing. Yeah. Also want to say, get well, Deion Sanders, man, who ever knew that playing football could, get you to where he is now. He was having some issues from foot surgery, and he had to undergo a double toe amputation. And that graphic photo is on the internet. I'm not trying to look at it, but again, wishing him well. And certain toes have a lot to do with the equilibrium, so I hope he'll still be able to walk and function normally. And then we also are mourning with the Braxton family with the loss of Tracy Braxton, only at the age of 50 years old, which is young. She lost a battle with esophageal cancer. So it's just a teachable moment for folks to learn their health history. Again, 50 is very young. She battled it for over, I think, a year. Didn't go public. But now you have a son with no mother, a husband with no wife, and a grandchild who really won't get to know his grandmother. So, colonoscopies and mammographies and, all those different things that people shy away from and use COVID as the excuse. No more do you have an excuse. So just, take care of your body, because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that you really own. Okay.
So true.
Okay. Now we got to talk about again Jussie Smollett. Now when you're a certain persuasion, you go to jail, but when you're black, you go to jail. Again, what they say, you going to jail, baby, and jail is different than jail. It's JAYA. And I don't think that he's going to do the whole 150 days for the hate crime stunt. He's got to pay. I know Syracuse Mike said 125, but with the fines and restitution, he's got to pay over $145,000. And I say the Smollett family is the size of a small town. They were in court, even putting his 90-year-old grandmama up there on the stand. But that judge read him for filth, and I get it. He was showing up late to court. He was narcissistic, and he thought he was going to walk away. They took him straight from the courtroom to the jail cell, and he in Cook County. He in the county jail now. Okay, he's in Cook County. And that's different. Because in Cook County, you don't have cells. They have, it's like dorm-style bunks. So you don't have your own cells. So, and I think that's really why, they took him to jail. He did not pass go. He did not get $200. And I think they're putting him in protective custody, even on the suicide watch, just for his own protection.
But you heard him say in the clip, he wanted people to know that he is not suicidal. And if anything happens to him, he did not do it himself. He did not do it with his own hand.
Yeah. But again, it's open season. He's what he calls himself a half Jewish gay Tupac in Cook County jail. They don't care about him. They would shank him just like they'd shank anybody else. Okay, let's call a thing a thing.
We'll see.
So Tiny and them been waiting for him. Well, I've kind of been waiting for Nick Cannon's talk show to end, and I called it that Titanic of a talk show. Didn't even make it a full season, although they taped a lot in advance. So you will see shows up until I think like mid to late May. 6 months. That show was it was corny. He was Captain Corny, and it was whack. And even when he had his grandmother on there, and grandmother said, "Baby, that show's not good and you're not funny." She let him know.
Damn.
The jig was up, y'all. The jig was up for Nick Cannon. So, now he just has a couple of more hours in the day to try to go see some of his 10 kids. Okay?
Wow. Yeah.
All right. And I want to say 5-1 to the legendary Whispers. They have been in the game 58 years. I mean, a lot of us haven't been around that long. But, they've never gotten a Grammy. They've gotten a little yang here and there. But I just want to say 5-1 to them, because later on this month, they are going to receive the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award from President Biden in the White House. And I think they deserve a round of applause. And the beat goes on, is all I can say about that for the Whispers. The mighty Whispers. The mighty Whispers.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
I also let's talk about this whole thing, this Adele Anita Baker thing. Now, Adele just did a special a couple of months ago, up on the top of the mountain with Oprah and, all the famous folks were there. Then she went to Vegas. That was a crash and burn. That was just a kerfuffle and a cluster F that should have never happened. However, now next Sunday, she has this new TV special called An Audience with Adele. And I just want to know, how different is that from what she did with Oprah? I don't get it. But what I do get is, if you thought you were going to Vegas to the Anita Baker residency, baby, that thing is sold out. And I think I sent you all a screenshot of somebody I know who bought 2 tickets.
Oh, that's crazy.
The tickets were $600 a piece. And that was in the second part, like right before row Z. So it wasn't even down front, okay? The closer you got, the more it is. So I think they were like maybe in row T, U, or V. $600 a piece for the tickets. Then the fees or another $211. So you're talking about 60. I mean, I love Anita Baker, but I don't love her that much unless she got Usher, James Brown, Prince, Michael Jackson, Rosa Parks, and Jesus the Messiah himself as her opening act. We know that's not happening. So
no, I mean, you know what? I mean, Anita's been away too long, for one, and Anita's voice is not what Anita was. And KW,
she can still hold her own. She can still hold her own. But still.
I mean, but she's not. I mean, you know, and she's admitted it, that you know, she's had some health challenges that have you know, degraded, not to the extent of what Whitney had gone through, but
right.
You know, she's not Anita Baker 1985, 1986.
But that's why I said what I'm going to do, like I told y'all, I'm going to go get the DVD from 1987 where she was caught up in the Rapture Live, and I'm going to play that and have my snacks and cocktails. Because if you look at it like this, if two people go pay, and that's just for tickets, it's $1,600+ you got to get to Vegas, you know, you got to eat, you got to drink, you got to get a hotel room. And my thing is, that's more than a mortgage, a car note, insurance, every utility bill you have, your phone bill, and a few tanks of gas if you have like an Ford 150 or a big thing. So although I get it, and I'm happy that it did sell out, and her residency is only like 5 or 6 days.
If it's only that amount and they know it's not going to be over a few months, then you got limited opportunities then.
No, that's true, but you know, but there's always this thing called an extension. Like Earth, Wind & Fire has a residency, they left and they came back. Usher returns for his residency July 15th. And then at first you have Bruno Mars residency. Now you got Bruno Mars, aka him and Anderson .Paak as Subsonic. So the ones that make money and sell out, they usually bring them back.
Well, I know my people, and black people pay $1,600. You better be good.
Well, you know,
or it will be on Twitter. Black Twitter will be ablaze.
You remember it's been happening for a few years. Jazz in the Gardens down in Miami.
Yeah.
People call it Jazz in the Ghetto because it's Carol City and that was the hood. But just the way that things have not improved since they had the last one 2 years ago. And I know like Stokely's down there performing, and they were like changing the set time, changing the day you play, and telling people folks are performing on one day, and they go buy the tickets and they go there to see the folks, and it's like, oh, sorry, you got to spend a couple of $100 more to come back another day to see who you want to see. So Jazz in the Ghetto is probably going to get crucified on social media.
Okay. You got one more? You got an update on Morris Day, or what was that?
You know what? From what I'm hearing is Morris Day is now very quietly has gotten an attorney, and usually only attorneys get rich in this type of situation. But Morris Day has gotten an attorney, and I'm understanding that he's got some receipts, so he may be the victor in this one. And I always thought that for the Prince estate, it was just a money grab. It's like, you know, they all have more money than they've ever had in their natural lives, and you know, but when people get that kind of money, they usually end up broke, poor, and lonely. So, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But right now, things are looking very good for Morris Day.
Well, good. Y'all give it up for Tanya B in the building. Appreciate you, Tanya B. Yes. Sipping that tea.
One more thing to say.
All right, go ahead.
People were upset about this whole Chris Rock and Kevin Hart, the Rock Hard tour for headliners only. The reason why they're doing these 5 dates in New York and New Jersey only before they go on their separate tours. So it's
because Kevin Hart's in Atlanta in August, September.
Right, because they have their own. They have their own.
Yeah, they have their own separate tours.
This whole Rock Hard thing is going to end up being either on Netflix or some other streaming channel, or maybe even a pay-per-view. So they're both still coming to a town near you. So don't take some of that Anita Baker money, or take your Adele refund and go take it over there to Chris Rock and Kevin Hart and them.
Oh, Lord.
Kevin Hart's also on the Essence Fest. He's also on the Essence Fest lineup. Kevin Hart.
Yeah. So
Bob's like, I got my ticket. I'm going.
I'm going.
Shout out to Questlove once again. Questlove won another award at the BAFTAs for his documentary Summer of Soul. And I mean, everything.
Cool. Give it up, Kes, for Quest. Good stuff.
And supposedly, they say he's a shoo-in to win the Oscar, but you know, you never know with them. But I think those independent awards, like the BAFTA and the other one he won, he even won, like, I think it was Critics' Choice or whatever, Directors Guild, but
Yeah.
the ones that really mean something.
Mhm.
But, you can't deny Summer of Soul. And I would just say, I'm going to go watch it again. It's just that good. And I still say I want him to do a follow-up documentary with some outtakes, because there's still so much more of that story that we did not get to see. So shout
Good
out
stuff.
to Questlove.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good. Thank you, Tanya B. Hey, just a couple of my quick picks for the weekend. If you haven't had a chance, you still got some time, or even during the week. Apple Plus, man, I'm very, very pleased with all their releases. And another true new classic is what I like to call it. Veteran actor Samuel Jackson, famed writer Walter Mosley, accomplished director and actress Debbie Allen have teamed up for The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray. Already checked out the first few episodes, y'all, and I'm here to tell you it is outstanding. It is directed again by Debbie Allen, and the premise of it, if you're not sure, Ptolemy Gray, who is played by Samuel Jackson, is suddenly left by his caregiver, and he's assigned to a teen orphan who's played by, if you know, Dominic Fishback, the actress, and then they learn of this treatment that can actually restore his memory. And he's having all these flashbacks, and the flashbacks lead to some mystery. So, if you follow, which one of my favorite stories is Devil in a Blue Dress by Walter Mosley. And if you know Walter Mosley's writings, he's a detective. So it's kind of got that detective vibe. But the film is actually shot in Atlanta. You see a lot of the Atlanta landmarks. As a matter of fact, I was watching it, first couple episodes, I saw Sweet Auburn. They had to film right around Sweet Auburn downtown. Walter Mosley wrote the screenplay, and again, it's on Apple. So if you get a new phone, you get Apple for a year, so you ain't got to pay for it. Or I don't want to say go out and get somebody's password, but you know what to do. You know what y'all do. Check out The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray, Samuel L. Jackson. It is really good, and I give it up to Tim Cook, because he's accepting a lot of these projects that a lot of folks aren't willing to put the money into, because Apple really, when it comes down to film and all, their thing is they make devices. They're making their money on phones, computers. They're making their money on the services. But definitely, I love what they may not have a lot of content, but the content they bring in is good. So y'all check that out. It is The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray. I was very pleased with it. And Samuel Jackson's the man. Also on Netflix, and this is kind of fun. This is kind of a throwaway if you ain't got nothing to do. The Adam Project, Ryan Reynolds, who I like from what's his name, Deadpool. But it's this is crazy. Have y'all seen it? Anybody seen it yet? I'm not going to go into the story, but basically the thing is, it's time travel when he goes back and he teams up with his 12-year-old self to save somebody. And but all the players are people from the Marvel, from the Avengers. It's like Ryan Reynolds plays Deadpool, right? So you got Zoe Saldana, who plays Gamora. She's in Guardians of the Galaxy. Then you've got, Mark Ruffalo, who plays the Hulk. He's in it. So, you have to kind of suspend disbelief when you watch it, because it's like, damn, am I watching the Avengers, or is this? But it has a lot of elements that remind you of that. So that's on Netflix. Also, I got to say, give it up to Will Smith. For without a doubt, with Will, he won Best Actor for King Richard over in the UK. As a matter of fact, as we tape, the BAFTAs have wrapped up. I think they're done. They've already announced Will Smith and a few other folks. The movie that actually won Best Picture is Power of the Dog from Netflix. So a lot of the BAFTA awards are precursors to the Oscars. So we'll see if that holds tight and holds true for Will and possibly for Netflix for Power of the Dog too. So we'll see. And on a local tip, I got to say what's up to Karen Greer. She, Karen Greer's been around since 89, 90 in the city of Atlanta. She's bounced. Well, she used to be 46, I think, Fox, CBS 46. This is for my Atlanta folks, but she is actually, she's been chosen to take the Jovita Moore spot on WSB TV. Jovita Moore, of course, passed away a few months ago, but got to say congrats to Karen, because you know how you have these people who in the industry forever doing great things, and, you know, getting their shine, but not necessarily on the level they should. So this is really well deserved for her because she's well known, well connected, and it's a great choice because you don't grab somebody and bring them into a situation like this, not knowing the community. And Karen really knows the community well, and I'm sure she'll do a great job.
She's an amazing journalist. And, you know, when I
Yes, she
first
is.
came to Atlanta, she was on 11 Alive. And when they did her dirty, I'm going to call a thing, and they tried to reduce her role and get rid of her, I stopped watching 11 Alive. And I did not watch CBS 46 until she went there. And after she left 11 Alive, I became, you know, really dedicated. And I'm loyal to WSB. TV. It's not the same, no shade to Lori Wilson or the other anchors who were there, but her stepping in, really, I don't know that there's anybody in the city who could step into Joe Vitamore's seat, if you will, except
excellent choice. Excellent choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
She'll
excellent
be an
choice.
asset over there, believe me.
Yeah,
But how
she'll do
interesting that Monica Kaufman Pearson, who retired from WSB, now has a show over on
46.
On 46, yeah.
So she might be taking Karen's slot. We'll see. We'll see. Hey, y'all. Hey, just a couple of things. Don't make sure you go to Castropolis.net. Click our link. Everything G Podcast is there. You've got the podcast, the stream, social media, email, and again, if you like to text, if you got a phone and you need to get our podcast, not necessarily listen to us live, but get the podcast. Just text GPOD, GPOD. That's G, P as in Paul, O as in Oscar, D as in David, GPOD to 470-928-1255. That's 470-928-1255. And just text GPOD and you'll get the link, which is the main player, the share options. So you can share it with your folks. And also you can subscribe to the different platforms from that app, from that link. Just a couple of things, man. And these are just quick. It was really an active sports week, and we don't, we're not a sports show, but a lot of these things are just, some of it's, we knew it was coming. Some of it's stupidity, but I think it deserves a mention. National League Baseball finally opened up the lockout. I think, from a standpoint as a parent, and watching and seeing, my kids grow up and some of, do some type of sport. Baseball is getting its ass kicked. I mean, in terms of, when it comes down to kids being able to afford baseball the way when I grew up. And Vi, you played sports. I played organized sports until, I graduated from high school. And I remember baseball being a lot more prevalent in the neighborhoods and in the communities. Yep. Whereas now you see more soccer. Soccer has really kind of gotten the eye and the heart to these kids and these parents. So I say that to say they need to stop playing around with the public when it comes down to starting their season on time, because the other thing is football is almost year round. They're either talking about the draft. They just finished up with the combine. There's just so many things that the NFL does. It's like, when do you not talk about the NFL?
Right. And
NFL's
XFL again, ain't they?
Yeah. So baseball, you did, if they were talking about possibility of baseball not starting until July, in my opinion, it would have been a death blow to the sport. So kudos. Also, all charges were dropped against Deshaun Watson. How many? He had 27? Dude had 20.
I was surprised. I thought he was going to be in there. It would be bunkmates with Jussie Smollett.
Yeah.
Well, he still got the silver court to worry about.
Oh yeah, he still got to deal with the money side, but the criminal side. I mean, the grand jury basically acquitted him. So
they did not charge him for anything.
So he's on the market, and that's another body that's going to be thrown into the NFL pot that people are going to be talking about. Also, the Falcons wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, man, just amazing. How do you bet $1,500 and throw away?
He is dumb, donkey ass, stupid.
What?
He actually bet more than $1,500.
Stupid.
You think he did? Oh well, he did. If you look at the 11 million, he's going to lose.
Yeah, talking about. While he was on a mental health break, boy. Next subject, bye.
Smoking on that loud.
Got to be. But anyway, I mean, you want to sympathize or empathize with someone who says that they're going through a mental health crisis. I mean, I'm a caregiver for someone who has, mental health, who's mentally ill, and I hope these guys are legitimately using, or not necessarily using it, but actually admitting something that's truly going on in their lives and not abusing the opportunity. So I hope, because it's not going to be received well if it is uncovered that it's all a lie. But this, unfortunately for this young man, I don't know who's giving him advice. I don't know who his agent is. He needs to go find Jerry Maguire so they can build some kind of personal relationship and help him steer a better course. But the bottom line is this is not going to be good for his career. Even though people will say, man, he'll be okay. It's not going to be good for his career. I don't see it. I don't see it. Also, Russell with the good hair is going to Denver. Russell Wilson. I know I said it wrong. But anyway, I'm happy. I like Russ. I joke with Russ and Sierra, and I'm happy they're going to Denver. And finally, Colin Kaepernick sent a video out this week that basically said that he's ready to play, and he's been working out and he deserves a shot. There've been some people talking about the fact that some of these quarterbacks are being pulled out of, when a lot of these teams are in a bind, they go to people who haven't played in years, who might be coaching football, little league, and pull them in. So why not Colin? And love to hear your feedback. I don't know, crew, if you have anything to say, but definitely you can email us or on social media, hit us up. We'd love to know what your thoughts are, whether or not he deserves a shot. It's been how many years has it been since he's been out?
Is it 5?
Too many.
5. Yeah.
I think it's 5. It's been a minute now.
Well, the workout video, it's hard to tell whether or not somebody is truly in football shape from a video. So he needs to get out and actually play. I'd like to see him. Go ahead.
Kurt Warner was it? Go ahead, Vi.
He can be where some of these guys, like what they call the guy, he was coaching high school football.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A couple of these guys have been pulled out who were just coaching high school football.
And they wasn't that good when they played.
Yeah, so true. So true.
Kurt Warner was at the grocery store working.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They got him. He went on to the Hall of Fame now.
Yeah, so true. All right, final thoughts, K-Dub.
It's 7:00 and the sun is still up. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
So this is your time of the year. This is your preferred time.
Time of the year, but it ain't 23 degrees today. I'm glad about that. Thank you, Lord.
Good stuff. Same here, man. Same here. What about you, Tanya B? Any final thoughts?
I wish my neighbors would get some new rugs upstairs. Sound like they're dragging around either dead bodies or cinder blocks. But I just want to.
Oh no, not buried in the backyard.
Okay, see, no, they're gonna be buried upstairs in a minute. Just want to, say, get well to Jasmine Sullivan and Barack Obama, and may Michelle Obama not test positive. Again, I know everything that we're being bombarded with is everything Ukraine and Russia, but people, please just take the time, and check out somebody like Rob Redding, where you can get the real deal and the real scoop on things and understand that there's still a whole lot more going on in this world that affects us more as people of color. Not to diminish what's happening with crazy Putin in the Ukraine, but we still have to keep our eyes on the prize, because they're still killing Black people every day for sport and getting away with it. People are being mistreated and violated, and we still have to stand up for those types of things. Okay.
Yeah. And that was my point, Tanya B, when I was talking to Rob and I asked him, not only like, where are we, but when it comes down to it, when I remember when we went through the rash of police shootings, if y'all remember that period where it was almost like coming once a week, every other day. And I remember reaching out to Amnesty International because we were trying to get them on the show. And it was like there's an Amnesty International US. And there are a couple of what I call human rights organizations, because I said to them, I said, look, when you look at what's happening with the police departments and the way this is going down, in a lot of cases, this is a violation of these, the men that they were taking out, their human rights. I mean, these are human rights violations. So why not approach it as such? And I got crickets, So, I think my whole thing is it's about solidarity. I help you, you help me, so, it's like you give, I give, we give to each other. It's, the key word for me is solidarity. And who in the world, who's giving us, who's giving us solidarity? And who's sympathetic to the cause, to our causes. And, but that is, we're Americans as well. So, we have to look at the fact that who's sympathetic to the cause, who's sympathetic to a lot of, when you talk about the CRT is not even being taught in these elementary schools. This is, that's the sad part about it. When you see, the don't say gay situation, it's not even these aren't even issues. They're just manufactured for political purposes. People need, they need issues to go in, and they create these, what I call these crisis situations, so that they can stir their base. This is what this is about. Don't get caught up in it. I vibe with you, man. Let's go to the benediction. Throwing it to you.
All right, bro. The secret of holiness is not to do what you like to do, but to learn to like what you have to do. Jesus once told his disciples, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." The things he spoke of were the things that made us feel happy and secure: food, drink, clothes, shelter. He told us not to make these the chief goals of your life, but to seek the kingdom, and these needs will be automatically supplied. There, if we take it, is the secret of happiness. Matthew chapter 6, verse 34. Take therefore no thought for tomorrow shall take thoughts for the things of itself. Sufficient to the day is the evil thereof. In other words, don't worry about so much about the material things in the world. You should worry about what God can do for you. If you worry about what God can do for you, all the other things you need will be taken care of itself. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen, Ryan. Thank you, man. All right, y'all. Again, thank you to the panel. Also, thanks to Robert Redding Jr. for coming on the show today. Hey, y'all, and with that, episode 121 is in the can, and we are out of here, y'all. Peace.
Peace, people. Hey, go check out Temptation You Haven't at the Fox Theater. Great show.
Will do.
Tomorrow's the last day. Go to Broadway.
Hey.